All right, everybody, can you hear me okay? Jason says my volume could be a bit higher, but I think now you should be able to hear my mic okay. Well, I guess you'll let me know, and we'll get started here. Welcome back to another Rare Planet Evans live stream. And sorry this one got started so late, but the setup took me a lot longer than I thought it would. I thought maybe I could set this one up a lot quicker than the last one, but yeah, it didn't quite work out. So here we are, late on a Saturday evening, starting another live stream. And hopefully I can find the time to schedule these more frequently in the coming months. As I mentioned in my last one, I've got a lot of topics I want to cover, and not just NXIVM. I know so far the recent streams have just been about NXIVM. Anyway, a couple housekeeping items before we get back into our favorite cult, NXIVM. There's a bit of a biker rally or something going on with a bunch of bikers not too far from my house tonight. So if you hear some Harleys roar down my road or some kind of other background neighborhood noises from time to time, it shouldn't happen all the time, but I'm just going to have to apologize about that. And I got some Gab followers here. I should probably shut off my Gab notices. All right, well, yeah, I guess I could go out and I could shout at the bikers and get my ass kicked, but I think I'm going to pass on that. I think they're either going to be loud or they're not going to be loud. All right, the next little caveat here is it's allergy season. Go from bikers to allergies. So I'm going to have to apologize about my scratchy or nasally voice here and any throat clearing or hacking or sneezing. I'm going to try to mute the hacking and sneezing out of the stream, so if I suddenly go quiet for a few seconds, you know I muted my mic, so I'm not sneezing in your faces. You know, as I mentioned from time to time on my gaming channel, most of my life I've never suffered from allergies, and I kind of thought people who did were hypochondriacs, but in recent years something about me or the world has changed, and now I do get them. And I apologize for my decades of doubting the plight of those afflicted. I understand now, and it's awful. Anyway, allergies won't stop me from enjoying a drink or two during this stream, and you guys should settle in as well with your favorite beverage. This might be another long one. So cheers, everyone. I'm going to take a sip. And hopefully I have ironed out all the streaming noobness from, or not maybe all of it, but at least most of it, from last time. With a bit of luck here, handling the streaming dashboard and software will be run a bit more smoothly this time. If you're curious, I use OBS as my streaming software, and Google Hangouts if anybody wants to join. Yeah, so hopefully the audio levels and mic issues are all hammered out. It looks like from the chat that things are going pretty well there, but let me know if something goes haywire. And like I said, I do have Google Hangout open for anyone who wants to join the discussion. If you're interested in putting in your 10 cents, 2 cents, however many cents about NXIVM, I will invite you to a Google Hangout, and you will be on the air in the stream. Just either let me know in the chat or message me in a YouTube message or on Gab if you have a Gab account, and I'll try to get you on board. Yeah, so at the risk of me becoming Mr. NXIVM streamer, we're going to go there again. So a little note regarding the last NXIVM stream. It was probably fairly apparent that I was anxious about time constraints on that one. I kind of had places to be that night, people to see, so I was rushing to go over a lot of topics. As a consequence, I was misspeaking and reading things wrong quite often, so I hope to avoid those mistakes this evening. I don't have anything pressing on the old social calendar tonight, which is a good thing because I got this damn stream started so late. Yeah, last time I just happened to be facing a get-together with friends, so whatever. This one should be more relaxed. The drawback of a relaxed stream is it will have a lot less structure than the last. This will kind of just be a casual stream addressing some points I couldn't get to last time. And we got to talk about some new exciting events in the NXIVM world that have happened since the last stream. I might not be able to give them as interesting a perspective as I did last time, beyond what I already mentioned about the Pareto principle guiding female behavior and the pussy pass they all get from everyone for doing the things they do. And if you don't know what the Pareto principle is, or you're feeling kind of lost here in general, I recommend that you tune out from this stream now and go watch my previous stream about NXIVM, which will be linked in the description box with all my sources. And after you're done watching that, you can come back and this should all make sense. Yeah, so let's get to it. About a week ago, or 2 weeks after my first NXIVM stream, Allison Mack was finally arrested. And let's take a look at... There she is, with her lawyers leaving custody. Apparently she posted $5 million bail. And she's about to enter house arrest at her parents' house. I don't know how all that crap works. Like, how do they decide she's okay going to her parents' house? Like, whatever. It's just some quirky thing. So, if you listen to my last stream, you may be saying to yourself, that's it, really, isn't it? Someone female from NXIVM has finally been arrested. So the scales of universal justice have been balanced, right? Game over, we're done. Well, maybe, but as I asked in the last stream, what about Lauren Salzman, who had sex slaves, made Sarah Edmondson her sex slave, and Daniel Roberts, who took some kind of weird branding iron and branded all these sex slaves with Allison Mack's and Keith Raniere's initials. And what about the Bronfman sisters who bankrolled NXIVM? Why haven't they been arrested? Again, if you don't know any of this stuff, I remind you to stop right now and watch the previous stream and come back to this one. As we will get into shortly, Claire Bronfman and members of Raniere's harem of supposedly horribly abused women have moved NXIVM's operations from Albany to Brooklyn, New York, so they can be closer to and assist Raniere with his legal problems. And Raniere is someone authorities and the mainstream media will have us all believe tormented them, and so many other NXIVM women. So you got to ask yourself, what the hell are they doing following him around if they're finally free from him? As for Allison Mack, even though she's been arrested, people don't seem ready to accept what she's been up to. And surprise, surprise, they're all going out of their way to paint her as a victim or making excuses for her. This is an we're going to get right into a video here. This is an ex-NXIVM member and maybe one of Raniere's harem, one of his ex-girlfriends. And just listen to how carefully she words her assessment of Allison Mack here, now that she's been charged with sex trafficking. Yeah, let me make sure my streaming software is going to let the desktop audio play okay. And we'll get into this video.
Tonight we spoke with the former longtime girlfriend of Raniere, who was accused of leading the cult called NXIVM.
I'm confident that on some level that Keith and Nancy in the inner circle convinced Allison that these kind of exercises and processes were some kind we're going to elevate these women to a higher level of awareness and strength, and I'm willing to bet that Allison kind of bought into that concept, and Allison probably doesn't think right at this moment that anything that she did was possibly abusive.
I'm just curious why you would be so painfully circumspect with someone accused of grooming and having sex slaves. Or more to the point, would this woman be so painfully circumspect with a male sex slave master who branded his initials into some woman's or some women's privates? I doubt it. Let me exit out of that screen. And the mainstream media and possibly authorities as well appear to be working on a cognitively dissonant narrative that Mack is somehow magically simultaneously a perpetrator and a victim. Take a look at my Gab post about this here. Yeah, so if you read that, oops, oh, here we go again with Firefox and Gab. Yeah, if you read this headline here, Smallville actress Allison Mack is both victim and perpetrator of cult's sex crimes, whistleblower says. I don't know how she pulled that off, but apparently she's perpetrator and victim. And we'll get into another video here. Here's a legal expert on ABC's Good Morning America talking about the leniency and sweet legal deal Mack will likely get from authorities, and pay attention to how much they stress, or he stresses, and the correspondent that's interviewing him, how they both stress how bizarre they think it is that a woman would be involved in things that NXIVM got into. Let's start this video.
Right, we have to wait and see what all happens here, because as you said, I mean, these are some serious charges, but could they be lenient toward her for a certain reason?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think they want to determine, was she a victim? Was she brainwashed, maybe? And as a result, should she have less criminal responsibility than someone like him? Or was she acting with sort of evil intent? And this is one of those difficult things to sort out.
Let me just stop it right there for a second, because yeah, it's difficult to sort out whether someone who had sex slaves and burned her initials into people's privates, whether or not she has criminal responsibility because she's female. Raniere, though, a man, they seem to have no problem sorting out what his criminal responsibility is. Surprise, surprise.
But the fact that so quickly they're talking to her about a deal indicates to me, A, that they're willing to offer her a deal, probably to testify against him, and B, that they're going to offer her some sort of leniency here. And you have to believe that they're going to view her to some degree as a victim.
How does her celebrity play into all this?
Well, that was a recruiting tool, allegedly. They basically say that she was using the fact that people knew who she was to sort of normalize the entire operation here. So that certainly came into play as well. It's just a bizarre, bizarre story.
And as you said, could be more charges that we see against him.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Yep, there you go. How bizarre. It's always so bizarre when women do things, you know? Not so bizarre when men are doing it, but yeah, so society seems once again to just not be able to come to grips with its darling little female flowers doing such terrible, naughty things. So anyway, so far I've been talking about media outlets that that actually choose to cover Allison Mack and cover this story, and Allison Mack's participation in things like the NXIVM branding ritual, because some of the more left-leaning outlets can't even be bothered. They sure do seem to manage to cover Bill Cosby a lot, though. I was looking at, for whatever reason, I was on NPR and the NPR site, and I just got curious about, how many articles they've had about Bill Cosby, and it's well over 600. Who knows? Since I archived this and since I searched it, it might be over 700. But Allison Mack, well, there's only one. Oh man, it's just fucking amazing. And so much for feminists and feminism being about equality, eh? Anyway, for any of you who are not in the U.S. or have been living under a rock in the U.S., NPR stands for National Public Radio. It's basically the American BBC radio, and equally as left-leaning. At this point in its history, NPR it's really just a Marxist feminist propaganda agency, as you can see here by its lighting its hair on fire over a male celebrity's sexual transgressions, while all but ignoring the same from a female one. You know, as far as I can tell, Bill Cosby didn't burn his goddamn initials into anyone. But someone from NPR can correct me if I'm wrong about that. You might want to be a little more interested in people being scarred for life physically, you know, and having brand marks put on them like cattle. And getting back to something I mentioned in the last stream, the coverage which does mention her, Allison Mack that is, still can't seem to bring itself to mention her presence at the branding ritual, or mention her initials being in the brand and more prominent and legible than Raniere's initials. We went over that in last stream. So I'm about to play a little montage here of clips where the media either says Raniere himself branded the women, which is just straight out fucking false. He wasn't even at the branding ritual. Or only mention his initials being in the brand. Now, some of these were taken from coverage released after Allison Mack's incarceration. So you got to wonder what the hell they think she's arrested for. I don't know, serving weak coffee at the branding ritual? I mean, she had to have done something, right? Anyway, these are in no particular order, so it's just kind of a hodgepodge, and let's take a listen here.
Prosecutors say he coerced women into having sex with him and even had them branded with his initials.
And that my daughter was involved in this kind of slave master situation, and that apparently they were all having sex with Keith, and that they were supposed to recruit other young women to be slaves as their assignments, and they were giving out assignments to have sex with him. And then I found out that she could be branded with his initials, and I lost my mind.
The women who, according to the New York Times, wind up branding them with his initials, branding, like cattle.
Former member Sarah Edmondson said women were forced to sign confidentiality agreements and branded with a symbol incorporating Raniere's initials without any anesthesia.
The so-called self-help guru allegedly coerced women into having sex with him and also branded them as part of an initiation ceremony.
The 35-year-old star tweeted, "I am deeply disturbed and embarrassed to have been associated with the group's charismatic leader, Keith Raniere, who is accused of branding women like cattle with a cauterizing pen similar to this one."
This woman said...
That one just slays me. I mean, they act like he was the one with the branding iron in his hands. He wasn't even there. Anyway, keep going.
She was held down and branded, yes, branded, during a bizarre initiation into a secret sisterhood. The brand was literally burned into the flesh of her and 4 other women.
They were physically branded like cattle. They were put in a position of total submission and branded.
The brand apparently stands for the initials KR. So who is KR? He's apparently a charismatic self-help guru named Keith Raniere.
Now, federal prosecutors say they have busted a cult leader who allegedly recruited Hollywood stars and enslaved women. CBS 2's Tom Wade is here with some of those shocking details. And Tom, we're told this man forced women to actually brand themselves.
Yeah, this stuff is really disturbing, Pat. Prosecutors say he did. Raniere was arrested outside Puerto Vallarta this week by Mexican federal police. Former members describe NXIVM as a cult and say some of the women were forced to brand themselves with Raniere's initials. Prosecutors say under the guise of a women's self-help and empowerment group, the Albany-based organization that calls itself NXIVM was seducing women to abandon their old lives and come join the cult. Some women were even branded with Raniere's initials after joining.
Prosecutors say the women were then branded with Raniere's initials, put on restrictive diets, and forced to have sex with Raniere.
All right, so I mean, they're just like mindless automatons. I don't know. I guess they're just feeding off one another, and I mean, I could have made that a lot longer, but I think you get the point. So just to summarize, mainstream media can't seem to remember or include the fact that Mac's initials are part of the brand, but they sure as fuck remember to mention she's a victim on top of being a perpetrator, however the fuck anybody manages that. And just as an interesting aside here, let me bring up my Gab post about this. Which, this is going to seem like something out of fucking left field, but I'm going to throw it in here anyway. It's amazing how quick the Toronto van attack, hopefully you're aware of what happened recently in Toronto. Some guy drove his van up onto a sidewalk, ISIS style, and I think he killed like at least 10 people or something like that. And, you know, mainstream media pounced on this and immediately blamed it on so-called incel ideology. You know, and this is the same mainstream media that will often say that NXIVM is a self-help, women's self-help or women's empowerment group. But it never goes so far as to blame the sex slavery and trafficking on feminism. Somehow it misses that opportunity. But incels, it pounces on them right away. And of course, after only one incident that I know of, I guess you could maybe say Elliot Rogers was incel as well. But I mean, only one true incident here of a truck of peace being driven by an incel. Immediately they blame it on you know, on incel ideology. But don't you dare blame Islam for the countless ISIS terrorist attacks and drug attacks. You know, they're going to find a reason why Islam is not to blame for those. Of course. Anyway, incel, if you don't know, stands for involuntary celibacy. It's basically another way of labeling or describing what MGTOW guys call TFLers, or true forced loneliness. I mean, it's guys, like I said, it's like Elliot Rogers, guys who seem to be unable to get laid. And, you know, anytime anything goes wrong that can be loosely connected to them, they, you know, mainstream media immediately pins them with it, of course. But maybe I should point out here that, that this is Vox I'm talking about here, which is equally as left-leaning as NPR, if not more left-leaning. And frankly, just completely fucking lost sometimes. Like, I don't even understand where Vox is coming from. Like, even if you're a progressive, you know, and you buy into Vox's bullshit, you should probably every once in a while wonder what the fuck it's talking about. So in this strange article from Vox covering NXIVM, the claim is made that the group has no spiritual ties or foundation. And let me see if I can find the quote here. And I'll quickly read it. I tell you what, let me just do a word search here. Get me to it quicker. Yeah, so unlike many organizations termed cults, NXIVM does not seem to have any theistic or theological content. Members didn't join because they believed Raniere was a representative of God on earth, or that he had any particular spiritual powers. Rather, NXIVM attracted the members it did by capitalizing not on spirituality, but on culturally potent concepts like female empowerment. Yeah, so we can blame feminism for the sex slavery, right, Vox? Yeah? I mean, you blamed Incel on the truck attack, right? But anyway, anybody who watched the previous stream knows this is a bunch of bullshit. I showed you the video where Claire and Sarah Bronfman paid for the Dalai Lama to come from fucking Dharamsala, India, come to Albany and have like a photo shoot, photo op with Keith Raniere to bolster his self-help guru reputation. Those sort of meetings, I mean, when you meet in public with the Dalai Lama, it's like manna from heaven for you as a self-help guru. So I don't know what the fuck Vox is getting at here, that it's not spiritually oriented. All of these self-help groups have this progressive spiritual edge to them to rope women in. I don't know, maybe Vox has just got a bug up their ass, and they don't, being a feminist, another feminist outlet, they just don't want to admit this shit. Okay, so one of the videos I played previously had the actress Catherine Oxenberg in it. I don't know if you recognize her or not. It was the one with little blurb with Megyn Kelly. Catherine Oxenberg became famous for her role in the American TV series Dynasty from like 1 million years ago. It was a really popular kind of nighttime soap opera that everybody in America was watching. I'm only going to bring back Catherine Oxenberg again here because her daughter comes into play in something that happened with NXIVM since my last stream. Something that happened in addition to Allison Mack being arrested. It's actually kind of related, and we'll get to it in a minute here. But Catherine Oxenberg got her daughter India Oxenberg, and just naming your daughter India for whatever reason aggravates me. But whatever, I won't go off on a tangent here. So she got her daughter India Oxenberg involved with NXIVM, and now wants to get her out. But that's fine and all, but listen to the bimbo pretzel logic here in these excerpts from her Megyn Kelly interview. And let me get this video started.
The story begins 6 years ago, when ironically, Catherine herself brought India to an introductory session for ESP, Executive Success Programs, part of the NXIVM group, based in Albany, New York.
And I thought it was kind of an innocuous personal growth, self-help, business-oriented program.
Catherine says India loved the program, went back for more and more sessions.
And we're back now with Catherine Oxenberg, here to talk about her daughter, India, who's been sucked into this very controversial group. Catherine, thank you so much for being here. I can't imagine what you're going through, because you brought her there to look for empowerment and to better yourselves. And I know you say they hijacked your daughter. When did you first learn there might be a serious problem here?
Well, I had concerns about the organization from the beginning, because any program that seduces people to abandon their lives to serve their agenda rather than empowering your pre-existing life, there's something off about that. So I watched her get sucked in and join what they call the coaching path. But I didn't want to interfere as a mom. You know, you don't want to criticize your children.
Okay. So first of all, if you're wondering about the pretentious enunciation on Catherine Oxenberg's part, apparently she was born in New York but grew up in London and is the daughter of some Yugoslavian princess or something, who apparently is first cousin to Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, and second cousin to Queen Sophia of Spain, as well as second cousin to Prince Charles of Wales. And there's some other royal blood thrown in there, like some regal twats from Denmark or wherever. And I don't care about the details on the rest of her royal relations. And apparently Catherine Oxenberg herself is like 1300 in line to the throne of UK and the Commonwealth. So if over 1,000 people kick the bucket, she'll be like Queen of England or something. If you ask me, despite all that pedigree and a glaring nose job and probably fake boobs there, the accent is still a fucking sham. It's an affect. She's doing it on purpose. It's probably not her natural speaking voice. She's really, in the end, she's nothing more than a New York bimbo LARPing as a fucking princess. So anyway, getting back to the Megyn Kelly interview, let me see if let's try to process what she's saying here. She decided NXIVM would be a great self-help org for her daughter. She thought it was innocuous and would just help her. But somehow she also knew right from the start that it was also rotten and dangerous. And then she proceeded, after realizing that, to do nothing about her daughter's membership or entrapment in the self-help org. But now she wants us all to sympathize with her self-inflicted maternal plight here, which you can't even decipher. She didn't know it was bad. She didn't know it was bad. She then didn't get her daughter out. I mean, fucking broads are nuts, man. This is why I go back to all these self-help orgs being tailor-made to dupe these women into joining. They're just completely fucking susceptible to the bullshit, and then they pretend like, they knew all along that it was bullshit. Well, where the fuck were you when you threw your daughter into the meat grinder? All right, so that explains Catherine Oxenberg and how her daughter got involved. But so what happened with NXIVM and India, her daughter, since my last stream? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it looks like Claire Bronfman took the reins of NXIVM after Raniere was imprisoned, after he was captured down in Mexico and taken up to Texas and then brought to New York and imprisoned for awaiting a trial. I don't know, I'm getting conflicting stories on, I think I said in the stream that he denied to post bail, but I've since read that they denied him the opportunity to post bail. I don't know whatever. He didn't post bail, he's still in jail and he's awaiting trial. And Claire Bronfman comes along and seizes the reins of NXIVM and moves the organization headquarters down to Brooklyn. And let's take a look at this this New York Post article. Yeah, I know these are all a lot of tabloid articles, but this is kind of it's the way media covers it. I mean, it's a tabloid subject. They don't get into there. I feel there are some serious societal issues at work in this NXIVM scam, but none of them are actually gonna address it because it means trashing women. But yeah, so she moved operations for NXIVM down to Brooklyn, New York, to be closer to the legal action involving Raniere, because Claire Bronfman probably wants to dump a bunch of money onto lawyers to influence the legal process and get them acquitted. And Claire Bronfman, believe it or not, we're supposed to believe she's a victim in this as well. Now, getting back to India, the thing is about this, Bronfman, I don't know if she ordered these women to follow her or I don't know. Anyway, she brought a bunch of these screwy NXIVM broads with her down to Brooklyn, one of which was India Oxenberg. And also coming down with her was Allison Mack, who basically moved herself right into the lap of authorities down there in Brooklyn, the feds down there, the U.S. Department of Justice and the attorney's office down there, the U.S. Attorney's office in Brooklyn. She just basically planted herself in their lap, and I'm sure they were really appreciative for her to do that. They didn't have to go up to Albany or down to Mexico or wherever and get her. But when you're Allison Mack and you're female, you just never expect to get arrested for anything. You branded people. Fuck, I'm female. I'm not going to get arrested. And another person who went down there with India Oxenberg, Allison Mack, and Claire Bronfman was someone named Nikki Clyne. Now, this is going to sound fucking weird, but Nikki Clyne is legally Allison Mack's wife. Let me fucking say that again. Nikki Clyne, a female, is Allison Mack's wife. Now, I'm going to get to that weird marital situation, that weird marriage in a minute between Mack and Clyne. For fuck's sake, could these NXIVM broads get any more ridiculous? They're just like they're a friggin' nightmare. And actually someone, I should mention this, someone posted a really funny comment under my last stream that Raniere didn't post bail because he wanted to get the hell away from these women. It's almost understandable that if he had the choice, he chose to stay in jail. All right, but before I get into the marriage between Clyne and Mack, let me just say Clyne is another actress who starred in Battlestar Galactica. I mentioned a Battlestar Galactica actress, an Asian actress, in the last stream, but it's not this Nikki Clyne person. Clyne I mean, for whatever reason, she's another Battlestar Galactica actress who got involved with NXIVM. And I don't have any idea what's up with the cast of Battlestar Galactica and why they keep getting roped into these cults, but whatever, they seem to be doing it. Yeah, so apparently after moving to Brooklyn at Bronfman's command or request or whatever, India Oxenberg and Nikki Clyne got jobs at a vegan restaurant in New York. And here's an archive of the Daily Mail article about that. Kind of archives weird, but yeah, so let's the Daily Mail is claiming that they have pictures of Oxenberg and Clyne leaving their day jobs from this vegan restaurant. So whatever, you can, if you're interested in that screwiness, check that out at your leisure. So that's right, a former Battlestar Galactica actress and an heir to the UK throne. I don't know what number India Oxenberg would be away from the UK throne, but these two women who are also led around by the nose by a multi-gazillionaire Seagram's heiress. Here they are waiting tables at a tofu joint. Figure that the fuck out. Like, Claire Bronfman doesn't have enough money to... If she took the reins of NXIVM and ordered them down to Brooklyn, you'd figure she could spring for their living accommodations, but apparently they got to go schlep and wait tables. Yeah, so these girls, they wanted to be closer to their supposed tormentor as well during his incarceration and trial. And again, we're all supposed to believe they're victims being controlled by whatever, compromising photos or naked photos or information. All the stuff that didn't seem to stop Sarah Edmondson from going to the authorities and the other 4 branded women who went to the authorities and newspapers as well. But whatever, authorities and mainstream media who are not arresting any of these women want us to believe the reason is, you know, they're oh so horribly brainwashed and frightened that compromising information is going to be released. So anyway, we're getting close to the end of the stream here. I don't want to drag it on too long. But before I get to making my concluding points, let me get to this Mack and Clyne marriage. Apparently Clyne decided to abandon her lucrative acting career so she could be more devoted to NXIVM. For whatever fucking reason you do this. I mean, again, these women and self-help, they eat it up. It consumes them. They get so involved. Their lives, their relationships with family and friends, it all just falls by the wayside. They love this shit. But the problem for her is she's Canadian. And her visa, I guess she had some kind of visa to be here acting and taking part in Battlestar Galactica, that started to run out. So Mack, who's American... Oh, and by the way, if I said she's Canadian, if I said Allison Mack's Canadian in the last stream, I apologize. That was a mistake on my part. Anyway, Mack, who's American, decided to marry this Nikki Clyne person so Nikki Clyne could stay in the States. Now, was there more going on there? Was Nikki Clyne her slave? Most likely. Was there some kind of weird sexual coercion going on between her and Mack? Probably. But, you know, who knows if we'll ever find that out. So anyway, Clyne went from a popular role in a popular TV show to waiting tables. Brilliant fucking career move there, dear. Oh, and one more thing I want to get to that I couldn't get to because of time constraints in the last stream. I want to talk about the progressive nature of NXIVM's self-help bullshit. I mentioned that in the last stream, that I think all of these self-help organizations, they're mostly targeting like rich liberal people and trying to suck them in. So let me give a little evidence of that, maybe, that I couldn't get to in the last stream. So first off, NXIVM was the organization kind of pooled their efforts and became a sponsor of Clinton's presidential campaign. And here's a New York Post article on that as well. And let me just read a little bit of a blurb here. Most were from, actually, let me start a little. On March 14th and April 13th, records show more than a dozen contributions poured into Clinton's coffers from NXIVM, an executive and group awareness training organization. A little driver update there, or software update. Training organization led by Brooklyn-born Keith Raniere, 47. Most were from first-time political donors, each giving the $2,300 maximum. The revelation comes on the... Oops, highlighting getting weird. The revelation comes on the heels of the arrest of Norman Shue, I don't know who he is, who raised $1.5 million in campaign contributions for the Clintons and other Democrats, even though he was technically a fugitive from fraud charges in California. All right, so that's just some more Clinton donor bashing there. I don't think he had anything to do with NXIVM. So this sponsorship of Clinton's presidential campaign, coupled with the accusations that Mack recruited underage girls into the NXIVM sex cult, I think I may have dropped the ball in that in the last stream. I think there are actually you know, some kind of pseudo pedophilia charges that Raniere and Mack are both facing here. And like I said in the last stream, anyway, let me finish my thought here on, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Yeah, so these accusations of pedophilia have a lot of people on YouTube buzzing about Pizzagate connections, and you know, they were all talking about Clinton being involved with pedophile rings and stuff like that. So here's just a screenshot of all, you know, all the Pizzagate people are going wild over that. And like I said in the last stream, all of these cults, like, it's just too depressing for me to get into the kids that get roped into it. So, and I've speculated enough about this NXIVM cult. I'm just not going there. I'm not going to speculate more. I'm going to leave that up to somebody else to go there. And if you're interested in all that stuff, it's out there. You can check it out. Yeah, so since it's interesting, since my stream, and since, speaking of my speculations, my conjecture in that stream, since that stream and since Allison Mack has been arrested, there have been a lot of the points that I speculated about, the mainstream media has kind of been going bonkers about. For instance, here's People Magazine, if they can be believed, here's People Magazine claiming that Allison Mack was in fact present at the branding ritual. And let me just read this real quick. Prosecutors claim that during ceremonies in which her slaves, Mack's slaves, were branded, Mack placed her hands on the slaves' chests. Now, I don't know, does that mean she grabbed their breasts? She groped their tits? I don't know what they're getting at there. And told them to feel the pain and to think of their master as the slaves cried with pain. The prosecutor's letter to the judge in Mack's case also alleges that she provided naked photographs of her slaves to Raniere and was aware of Raniere's proclivity for having sex with multiple young women. Okay, so yeah, so that's, you know, like I was saying in the last stream, I just fucking knew she was there. I just did. Before the last stream, I didn't have anything like this. If you can trust People Magazine, who knows if you can. But I didn't have anything like this from a media source to back it up. But yeah, the other thing they've been getting crazy about is the fact that I mentioned in my stream is that Allison Mack was trying to court Emma Watson into this this cult. And if you have any interest in this is Twitter going nuts over it. Oh, sorry, this isn't. Where is my? Oh, you know what? I don't have a. Sorry, I didn't include the archive of. Sorry about that. I didn't include the archive of Twitter. You know, there's a whole bunch of people are tweeting about. I mean, you know how Twitter is. It's all just the drama. They get into it on Twitter, and they're all tweeting their shock about how Allison Mack went after Emma Watson, and oh, you know, it's all such wonderful drama for them. But you know, as I also mentioned in that stream, Emma Watson can't be arsed to comment on Allison Mack and NXIVM. So here's a little video about that.
Enrolling them in the idea of coming and participating.
Prosecutors say Mack was Raniere's top recruiter. She reportedly reached out to other well-known stars, tweeting in 2016 at Emma Watson, "I participate in a unique human development and women's movement I'd love to tell you about." And pop star Kelly Clarkson in 2013, tweeting, "I'm a fan of yours as well. I'd love to chat sometime." NBC News reached out to Watson and Clarkson, but didn't hear back.
Yep, shocking. She didn't want to talk about a woman who might have been branding people with her initials. But she can sure as shit. I mean, I know you're going to be shocked by this, but she can sure as shit carry on about Me Too and Time's Up. Here's all of Emma Watson's damn tweets about Time's Up and Me Too, and this will be in my video description. You can check this out at your leisure too. It's so you don't you knew she was doing it. You don't. I mean, you know, you don't have to check it out. You just knew she was going to do that. Yeah, and the other thing I mentioned in the previous stream that I wasn't sure about was the Bronfmans paying. I mean, I was pretty damn sure about it, but the Bronfmans paying for the Dalai Lama's visit to Albany to have a photo op with Keith Raniere and bolster his guru cred in the self-help world. Now, this article was published months before my last stream, but I only became aware of it in the past few days. So I'm going to throw it in here as stuff that is getting attention since Allison Mack was arrested. Because, again, Twitter's all abuzz about this, too. The Dalai Lama and, a sex enslaving cult. Oh, my God. Yeah, so according to the Daily Mail, Dalai Lama was paid $1 million to endorse women branding sex cult after secret deal between Buddhist celibate U.S. emissary and his Seagram's beverage company billionaire lover. And that's I guess it's Claire Bronfman. I mean, he was probably involved with both the Bronfman sisters, but it's Claire Bronfman that moved operations down to the Bronx, so they're probably getting at her. I can't be bothered to look at the Daily Mail article and figure out which Bronfman sister they're talking about. Yeah, so, but getting back to NXIVM's progressive bullshit, and then we'll wrap up the stream, and I'll get to my conclusion here and wrap up the stream. This is a screen capture from Frank Parlato's Frank Report site, and I mentioned him and his sites in the previous stream. And in this screen capture, the NXIVM, the self-help org, claims it is scientifically innovating raising children by giving them a multicultural upbringing. And apparently this multicultural upbringing costs the children's gullible liberal parents $120,000 a year. I mean, just send your freaking kid. Either homeschool your kids or send your fucking kids to a public school. What the fuck are you doing giving your kids a self-help org education? You just got to be... I mean, hopefully if Raniere has to give money back, he doesn't have to give this money back, because frankly, these knucklehead parents deserve to be gouged. All right. Let me make some short closing thoughts here on, and they're mostly going to involve the insistence by the media and authorities, stuff I've already addressed, the media and authorities insisting that NXIVM women are victims. I mean, just think about what they're trying to claim here. I mean, basically, some of them will straight out mention Stockholm Syndrome, but some of them just kind of hint at it because they know that the definition of it really doesn't apply to what they're trying to claim is going on here. But, I mean, they're all trying to imply some kind of absurd version of the Stockholm Syndrome being at work here with these NXIVM women. And if you, hopefully you know what the Stockholm Syndrome is. It's the notion that captives or hostages can wind up sympathizing with their captors or their kidnappers or their tormentors or whoever is, you know, holding them hostage or chaining them up in a closet or duct taping them up or whatever they're doing to them. So, I mean, they're stretching the limits of the definition of the Stockholm Syndrome to just fucking absurd lengths here. You know, how far can it be stretched before mainstream media and authorities and the rest of society for all the women in the Megyn Kelly audience oohing and eyeing over, you know, what's going on to these women and applauding at all of Megyn Kelly's points about how terrible women have it in a Me Too universe. I mean, how far can they fucking stretch this Stockholm Syndrome definition before they realize none of these fucking women are operating in fear of Raniere, in fear of their guru, and whatever incriminating info he supposedly possesses and is holding over their head. They're in fucking control of all of their adult behavior. I mean, what victim, after being freed from his or her captor or kidnapper or tormentor or whatever, and watching that tormentor get thrown in jail, not only follows him all over the Western Hemisphere, but fucking takes up the reins of his supposed sex enslaving cult and starts to operate it in his absence. What the fuck? I mean, when did these women get jailed? When does Claire Bronfman get jailed? And again, I don't care that these Dominus Obsequious Sororium, these DOS members, we talked about DOS in the last stream. I don't care that they had naked pictures or incriminating confessions from these women or whatever was supposedly being held over their heads. They had these same things for Sarah Edmondson. I mean, have any of us seen anything incriminating about Sarah Edmondson released? I haven't seen any naked photos of her. I mean, they might be out there on the web, but they're not out there because they got released from NXIVM. They're out there because, you know, she's a typical Hollywood actress who has naked pictures of herself out there. I mean, as someone with incriminating information being held over your head, you have to play your tormentor's bluff. I mean, like a reasoning, responsible, independent adult would. I mean, you can't go on for the rest of your life being a puppet. You have to risk, you know, the information being released at some point and break your chains. You know, and again, besides many of these women in this cult that were told they're victims, they're Hollywood actresses, they're models, they're whatever they are. And if there aren't 10 million Google image search results of them naked out there already, there probably will be soon. I'm just not buying the fucking boo-hoo collateral incriminating evidence or information line. Mainstream media acts like Raniere was using some evil Sith mind control tricks on them, when in fact they're simply, like I said in the last stream, they're simply operating with their inherent Pareto principle biological instincts as women. That's all that's going on here. And nobody can blame them for having, you know, control over their own actions. Nobody can blame them, and you know, they must be brainwashed. They must be in fear of somebody holding something over their heads. Actually, real quick here, I watched Mundane Matt's video on NXIVM, and he makes the claim in that video that cults are cropping up everywhere. The cult phenomena is on the rise. I don't know if that's true or not, but if that is true, and if as a society we need to put a stop to the increase, then like I said in the last video, we need to stop treating these adult women who get involved with them like they're fucking children. Or it's just going to keep happening over and over again. And cults are just going to be on the rise constantly. Like my analogy with deer hunting, you got to pick off a few does. But yeah, getting back to the Stockholm Syndrome bit, you know, like the reason why I say it's a stretch of the definition is because I can understand a hostage, like chained to a chair or something, in the moment, sympathizing with a kidnapper who, you know, brings them dinner and unchains his or her hands so they can eat dinner. And, you know, it's a weird situation where you feel like, oh, I'm doomed and desperate, and hey, this person's being nice to me. I like this person. You know, I get that. I get the in-the-moment Stockholm Syndrome. But I'm pretty sure the Stockholm Syndrome doesn't apply to following your kidnapper around the fucking globe while he's on the lam, and then showing up at his jail cell to help him out with his legal fees and legal problems. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe the Stockholm Syndrome can be stretched to cover it, but I think we need to define a new syndrome for these NXIVM women, and I think it's just fucking stupid bitch syndrome. All right, guys. That's going to be it for the stream. And it's probably going to be... It's going to be it for me talking about NXIVM for a while. I gotta take a rest from it. But I will be trying to do more of these streams more often. And I like I said in the last stream, I hope you guys are getting something out of this. I hope it's entertaining. And yeah, if you're really entertained, you can go to my Google channel about page, and there's you'll see the link to the Bitcoin tip jar if you really want to encourage more of these streams. And yeah, all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you soon, either in a video or another stream. Have a good evening, guys. Enjoy yourselves.